Welcome to the show. This is where your offers get sharper, your messaging gets stronger, and your business becomes impossible to ignore. Let's begin. This is the Marketing Makeover Show. Let me fix your marketing in real time. Hey everyone, welcome to the Marketing Makeover Show. Chris Moore, founder of Pocket Marketer, and your host here on this show. Excited to have Tammy here with us all the way from Canada. And we're going to be diving in and making over her marketing today together live. And I'm excited about this because Tammy is in the real estate business. She's working with buyers and sellers. And I love this industry. As you may or may not know, I was in the real estate residential resale industry for 12 years. I had a team of 27 agents until we shut it down in 2023. And I've written 2 best-selling books on real estate marketing. So we are in my wheelhouse. I'm excited to serve you. Tammy, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited about this opportunity. I'm really excited about doing this with you. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. A couple of things I want to start with for the listeners. When we get into marketing, especially with Pocket Marketer, one of the cornerstones and the focuses of why I created Pocket Marketer is to really help people like yourself, Tammy, find extreme clarity in the way they talk about what they do, who they serve, and a way where they can really repel the wrong type of clients or customers and repel the right ones. And attract the right ones very consistently. And I want to help you build a lot more control around your customer acquisition or your client acquisition for your real estate business. So that's what I'd like to do with you today. Before I jump into my agenda, let's go into your agenda. So we had a quick talk before we started. You're in real estate. You'd like to work more with with sellers than buyers right now. And really whoever controls the listings controls the leads, which makes perfect sense. You've been in business for 8 years or so. You're already selling quite a few homes per year, but now it's time to turn up the notch. So in your own words, let's tell the listeners kind of what's going on right now in your business, and then we'll dive into how we can make over your marketing together.
So where I'm at, Chris, is I'm currently doing what most people would say is well within my business. However, I don't feel clear with respect to my branding. I'm looking to create a durable brand that will appeal to sophisticated clients who would do their research and understand what they're looking for, and to scale clarity without losing my soul or losing who I am in the process.
Yeah, I love that. Let me go over a couple things for the listeners as well as for you right now before we dive too deep into this. One of the things that we always have to remember when you're dealing with something that is considered a commodity service, like working on trying to help someone buy a home or have someone help them sell a home. This is a commodity at the end of the day. It's very, very common. Mm-hmm. And if you think about in your area, which I believe you said is the Ontario region, there's probably tens of thousands of people just like yourself, if not more, who are also out there representing buyers and sellers. And that's really what defines this service as a commodity. And there's some good things and there's some bad things surrounded around that. The one good thing is that you do have the ability to differentiate yourself. You always have the ability and the control over how you talk about what you do, and you can make yourself different and stand out. The bad news is you have to at the end of the day, because you are very much a commodity. When it comes to why someone gets into a transaction, no matter what you're selling, product or service, there's always a couple things we go back to in business development when we're doing business development planning and customer acquisition planning. And that really comes down to these 2 things. Number 1, what triggers a transaction, and who's most likely to refer? That's really the 2 things, period. People don't just automatically get into the sales cycle and say, hey, I want to sell my house out of nowhere. There's always something that triggers that. And there's all kinds of crazy things that could trigger that, especially in real estate. Mm-hmm. And you need to learn how to find those people at that moment. And you have to be in front of them at that moment, or they're going to go to somebody else. The second part of this is who's most likely to refer. So for real estate agents like yourself, brokers, people who are working with buyers and sellers, the best thing to focus on, and we'll get to the clarity in a moment, we'll get into the branding in just a few minutes, but on just generating consistent lead flow, we got to look at those 2 things, right? On the who's most likely to refer, it really comes down to building a referral-based business is the strongest thing you can do in real estate. I know all the training you've been through, all the training I've been through as a real estate agent for 12 years and an instructor, is we talked about building a referral-based business And that's a big part of what we're focused on. Becoming referral worthy, building a system that's actually attracting referrals, incentivizing referrals, both professional and from past clients and peers and family and friends and all those kind of things. And then that can't be ignored. That's got to be a very big part of your strategy, clearly. The branding and the clarity around how you talk about how you're different will help that process, but I'll get to that in a few minutes. The other part of this is really kind of being in between the right place at the right time when someone's into the sales cycle for the first time, or when they're ready to make that one moment that is showing that they're closer to the sales cycle and they're ready to make a sale or they're ready to make a purchase. So you've got to learn how to get in the right place at the right time. A couple other things we'll talk about today in a lot of detail is the idea of top of mind awareness as well, which is a big part of it. I'm sure you've read the Bible of Real Estate by Gary Keller called Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Have you ever read that?
Yes, I have.
So he talks about mind share battle in the first chapter. He talks about how consumers have, in today's world, if I had to give you a good analogy, is they have a cache memory, like your computer does, where it has this short-term memory. And each consumer has space for 1 to 2 people per profession kind of in their cache memory in that mind share. And they're going to go to those 2 resources first before they go to Google or go anywhere outside asking for referrals, because they have those 2 people stored in our brains. Sometimes as a real estate professional, you know hundreds, if not thousands of real estate agents. And sometimes it kind of feels hard for us to understand that really people have 2 people that are their go-tos. They're going to call the one. If they don't answer, they're going to call the other. Right. And then if those 2 don't work, they're going to go to another resource. The goal in real estate is to win that mind share battle. You want to make sure that your top of mind awareness, when someone says real estate, they think of Tammy in your area instantly. And that's how the referral comes off the tip of their tongue so fast. Right. That's how they call you the moment they enter the sales cycle or the pre-sale cycle if they're still considering it. So we want to win that mind share battle with as many people as humanly possible. Couple other things I want to talk about as well is really the concept of why someone would do business with you over somebody else. Let's say there's 30,000 people who are handling buyers and sellers in your area. One of the reasons they would do business with you, besides top of mind awareness, is the concept of know, like, and trust, right? And I don't think people buy because of know, like, and trust. It actually has no relevance at all on why someone buys anything. People buy things or sell things because it's relevant to them right now, and it helps them solve the problem they have. But the reason they would buy from you rather than somebody else, or list with you rather than somebody else, is know, like, and trust. And if you break down know, like, and trust, this is more of a lesson to start with, and we'll dive into the fun stuff. Know is really familiarity, being familiar, which takes frequency of exposure, or takes you being famous. Number 2 is like. They need to like you, and they need to feel like you have their best interest in mind. And then trust has to do with integrity levels and doing what you're saying you're going to do, as well as expertise, right? Yes. So you've got to find this balance between having the know, like, and trust, which takes frequency exposure, shows the fact that you have a lot of common characteristics as them, and you are a likable person. People who have like resting bitch face and things like that, they tend to struggle with this more. And then also having the expertise and the integrity level, which sometimes comes into play with that branding we've been talking about, and the ability to show social proof and case studies and a very positive track record, things like that, right? So all this kind of intersects together. We're going to talk about all of it today. I'm going to take you through a process that you probably weren't ready for me to take you through today. It's called the 7 Ways to Win, which is a very proprietary framework actually created specifically for real estate. Now I've taught it to hundreds of businesses, over thousands of people, where it's like an annual planning session of how I'm going to build my business and punch way past the target and hit my goals beyond what I thought was possible, and break it down to daily, weekly, and monthly activities. That's number 1. The second thing we're going to do is open up Pocket Marketer. And I'd like to help you with that branding, with that clarity, because you do need to learn how to differentiate yourself, or what we call decommoditize ourselves, because you are in a very, very saturated commodity market. So does all that sound good?
Amazing. I'm excited. Good. Let's go.
I gave you a lot there. So just to recap, number 1, commodity. That's okay. Got to differentiate, got to decommoditize. Number 2, we got to remember why someone would become your client and what triggers that, because everything else is irrelevant. You can do all this branding work, all this clarity work. You can do whatever you want. It's not going to give you a single client, period. Right. You've got to learn how to build a referral-based business. And you've got to learn what triggers a transaction and how to put yourself between those points. And then the other thing to remember is, when you do create a touch point for the first time, you've got to have that top of mind awareness and frequency of exposure, because that person you worked hard to get in your sphere of influence is going to go with somebody else if you don't stay in front of them. So putting together a really powerful follow-up process will be very, very helpful. And we'll go over that as well in this exercise. So what I'd like to do before we dive into the 7 ways to win, let's start with the clarity moment, right? So what I'd like to do here is I'm going to open up Pocket Marketer and I'm going to share my screen. And anybody watching, this show is actually sponsored by Pocket Marketer, which is my software. It is a company I own. It's a software I created for this exact purpose. One of the things that most people struggle with is the ability to create world-class marketing, and actually marketing that you can predict success with. And unless you've been through the gauntlet, you have the trophies like I have showing that I can scale companies beyond 8 figures and 9 figures consistently and predictably, you just don't know the things you don't know. So Pocket Marketer gives you the power of having a world-class marketer in your pocket, somebody who can help you engineer award-winning branding, campaigns, slogans, big ideas, things that can differentiate you, and really be able to write advertisements and campaigns and emails and newsletters and any type of marketing message that's intimately relevant to your perfect prospect and to nobody else, so you can stand out in that crowded newsfeed. So that's what Pocket Marketer was designed to do. We designed it in a project system where every project is its own unique knowledge base, where once you essentially give this world-class marketer I've trapped in this system access to all the information they would need and enough context they would need about your business, your offer, your project, whatever you're working on, it can take it from there and it can go and build all of your marketing for you. It's a really, really powerful system, focused. So we're going to create a project, getting more listings. Inside this project, we're going to go on my account today. The first step we want to go to is the interview flow. So the way I created this, and we're going to do this together right now, is this was designed to essentially give that world-class marketer everything that he or she would need to know to have ultimate context around your business. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and feed the context. I'm going to record it right here in the system. Then we're going to dive in and focus on the clarity and the way you talk about yourself. Then we'll get into the 7 ways to win. Okay. And I've already heard everything from you. So I'm going to go ahead and give this information to Pocket Marketer right here live as we speak.
Awesome.
Okay. So we've got Tammy here. I'm not Tammy. I'm Chris. Tammy's my client for this exercise, and she is a real estate agent, a real estate professional up in the Ontario region of Canada. She's been doing real estate for about 8 years. She's got a strong background in real estate investments and law as well. And she really attacks real estate from a very investor perspective, focused on really understanding that these buyers and sellers are about to jump into one of the biggest investments they've ever done, and really protecting that investment. And when your time to sell the investment and sell your home, that you're getting the maximum amount of money as possible. And she's got a very interesting and a very cool framework where she's really focused on kind of finding your buyer first. Who's the most likely buyer for this property, and really positioning the listing correctly where the buyer is going to be very attracted to it, whether that's an investor, whether that's an owner occupant, whether that's a private equity group, whatever it is, really understanding real estate at a much deeper level in serving our clients. And as a commodity, the goal is to really put herself out there as the resource for someone who's looking to sell their home, beyond just putting a for sale sign in the yard and getting it to the closing table, but really having a much more powerful fiduciary style relationship, someone who can really help them get the most money out of their home, go through the proper preparation, and really put their home on the market in the right way compared to just going through the motions like most people do. So I think the big focus here is just really learning how to attract the perfect, more high-end, more sophisticated seller who finds this important, and then let her build all of her marketing around this. From what I understood from our conversation, she's doing about $1 million on average per sale. That's her average sales volume. She's doing quite a bit of units per year, but she wants to more than double that in this upcoming year. And really the biggest problem is, how do you articulate? She's struggling articulating kind of what makes her unique and different in a way that would be really relevant and intimately relevant to her perfect seller prospects. So that's what we start with today. Okay, so I gave some really good context there, kind of paraphrasing some of our conversations we've had before you jumped on the call and here on the podcast itself. And what we're going to do here is give this world-class marketer this information. Anybody looking at this screen, the way this works is essentially there's a question bank, and I would interview Tammy usually and say, so tell me about your business in one sentence. What do you do? What is your ideal customer? What's the specific problem you solve for them? But when you get into businesses that are a little bit simpler, like real estate, it's easier for me to just articulate it this way. I can upload documents. I can upload anything from the project I have here. It doesn't have to go through the interview, but the interview is essentially feeding the world-class marketer that I've trapped in this system everything it needs to know to be able to go out and create amazing messaging. So what we're going to start with, now that we've given the knowledge base and the world-class marketer what it needs, we're going to go into kind of the all-in-one pocket marketer tool. And we're going to start talking about how can we differentiate the way we talk about you and what you do in a way where it's really going to stand out and help you build a very powerful brand. Okay, so I'm going to start here. Okay, so I've got Tammy here with us. We really want to start with identifying how to talk about what she does in a much more unique way, truly differentiating her approach to real estate sales and the unique result that she can give a homeowner compared to a competitor, since she's in a commodity business. And the goal is not to decrease commissions or take any concessions on her end. So can we start with a brainstorming session around this, please? And Tammy, you're still tracking, right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So we're on the Pocket Marketer tool right now. Inside this project, as we build and we use more and more tools, they all talk to each other, which is really cool. It's like giving this marketer more and more context again and again. And as you saw here, you can actually continuously add to the knowledge base. Like you can drop in your listing appointment here, your business cards, you can drop in some of the collateral you've usually used or leave behinds. Like giving it as much information as humanly possible is pretty cool. And it continues to build on it. So, all right, so got it. Tammy's main challenge is standing out in a crowded commodity like real estate space. Let's start with a brainstorming session. And it heard everything we talked about earlier. I didn't give it that context just now, but it knows your investor-led expertise, buyer first listing strategy, fiduciary level service, tailored marketing position, etc. All right, so you'd let me help you craft some unique positioning. Yes, please. Let's keep moving. Oh, looks like I found an error. Here we go. So let's craft some unique positioning for you. For me, one thing I want you to hear from me as it's doing some thinking is, this is something you may want to write down.
Okay.
You sell to who you market to. You sell to who you market to, right? Give you a story. When I was in real estate, I was heavy in Craigslist for quite some time. I was very heavy in around working with investors, and I was marketing lots of foreclosures. We actually moved to Keller Williams specifically at that time, Tammy, just to be able to borrow the listings in the office. The big foreclosure warehouse was there inside of Keller Williams. I started marketing on Craigslist up to 100 times a day. And it's interesting, I generated a ton of leads, up to 1,000 per month. And I was going to see the same foreclosure with new buyers every single day until it sold. And I was riding it until it sold, essentially. And I generated all these buyers. And I worked with a lot of these investors and sold like 5 to 6 properties each on average to most of them. And what was interesting, a year later, I was kind of complaining to my broker. His name was Robert. I said, man, why am I smelling all these small houses? How can I get this sales volume, my average sales transaction volume higher? And he said, well, you sell to who you market to. Who are you marketing to? I said, well, I'm marketing to investors on Craigslist. He said, well, then stop doing that. He said, start doing open houses in luxury neighborhoods. Start going and figuring out how to get in front of people who are buying a lot larger homes and listing a lot larger homes. You got to change how you market if you want to change who you sell to. And it was a very powerful thing for me to hear from him in that moment. So one of the things I want to remind you about is you have the ability to take the conscious choice and make that choice of who you talk to. Who you've already told me you want to talk to is more sophisticated buyer. But what I'm hearing more beyond that is maybe we haven't talked about this and we should. Like, is there a target sales volume or average price per home that you'd like to target? Do you want to stay in only the $1 million plus? Do you want to specialize in that medium section between 600,000 and $1 million? You know, in your area, what are the absorption rates? What actually selling consistently? That'd be helpful to know.
Yeah. So thank you for that question. Totally makes sense. So when it comes to what is the most likely home to sell, it is definitely at the $1 million mark or below. Those homes tend to be purchased by new entries to the market, so first-time home buyers, whereas anything above $1 million would be considered a move-up buyer.
Okay.
So my ideal would actually be between $1 million to $1.5 million. I feel like it's a reasonable price point for people who are moving up or moving down, depending on where they are.
Okay. Got it. Moving up, or we call upgrading, but downsizing. We used to see it a lot. People who are older, who are getting away from the larger homes into something nicer but smaller.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. So let's talk about a few things. One of the things when you're building a brand, and we'll talk about this in just a few minutes, is it's a little different in your business compared to somebody who's creating headlines and like a hook or a big marketing idea. You don't necessarily need all of those things, but you do need a slogan. You need the way that you associate yourself. If you want to be a luxury listing agent, then the way that your brand is actually displayed needs to be very focused around what luxury brands do. I think having a slogan and things like that's helpful as well. But at the end of the day, one thing to remember is, just like in the software business, real estate, it's best known always beats best, number one. The best agent doesn't mean you make the most money, right? The best known, the person who has the more opportunities, the one that's getting the better opportunities or wins the opportunities, is the one who actually makes the most money and hits their transaction volume that they set out for themselves. Regardless of the branding. I've seen people with insane branding do very, very well. And I've seen people with terrible branding do very, very well. I've seen it both, right? So I don't want to put too much emphasis around the branding, although there is a level of almost pride that comes along with it, and also choosing the way that you put yourself out in the world. You want to repel people who are not the right fit, and you want to attract the right fit, right? So knowing that you kind of want to stay away from the first-time home buyers, and you want to work with people who are more focused on moving up, maybe the second and third home, or upgrading but downsizing and kind of going up to a higher price point, that tells me a lot. One of the things that you want to also do is think about marketing a lot of times like a resume, right? So if I was pumping out a resume, I would usually tailor my resume very specifically towards the job that I'm applying for, right? I would change the headline. I would change the mission statement. Maybe I would change some of the experience that I'm showing specifically on the resume, or even the educational stuff, right? So I think you have the ability to change how you talk to certain people. That's why I probably wouldn't go too heavy into like a really focused brand and slogan, because it may not be casting a wide enough net. You don't want to repel people who are relocating the area, who want to buy luxury real estate and being their buyer's agent. You don't want to repel people who in general who are looking for buyer's representation, who meet you because they were a sign call, or they came to one of your open houses, or they were a referral, right? You want to feel welcoming there. I think one big thing you want to focus on is being that trusted, safe pair of hands. So I'm in the business acquisition space. You can see my hat says Dealmaker. I'm the CEO of the largest business acquisition coaching company in the world. And one of the things that my business partner, Carl Allen, the guru, talks about all the time in business acquisition is we're trying to be a trusted, safe pair of hands. And that's one of the biggest things for the bank, for the investors, for the seller. As a buyer, we want to be a trusted, safe pair of hands. One of the things with you as a transaction coordinator at some level, whether it's the buy side fiduciary or working for them as the client, or the sell side, they're looking for a trusted, safe pair of hands that's going to actually represent them correctly, guide them correctly without steering, obviously, but help them make a great investment decision. So the thing that keeps standing out to me as the theme here is really the investment part. The fact that you are a real estate investor, you think like an investor, but you also understand there's a deep emotional connection between a homeowner and their home, whether they're buying or selling. I think maybe there's something we can do to play with that a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Because that's a big part of it. When I think about know, like, and trust, the idea of trust is expertise and integrity. And somebody who you have to be able to present that in a way that is unique for you specifically. Let's give it a little bit more information, then we'll go through it. Hey, another thing that keeps coming back to me again and again is really the fact that Tammy is a real estate investor and understands how investors think, understands how to maximize return on investment, understands where to put money pre-listing, where you're actually going to make a return versus where it doesn't make any sense to. But really, more than anything, kind of focusing on being a trusted, safe pair of hands for this responsibility that you would be giving her of guiding you through a transaction to help you take full advantage of the investment you have, which is really one of the biggest wealth creation tools that a individual can have is their home. And then as a buyer, you make money on the buy. And as an investor, you make money on the buy. And then as a seller, you make money at the closing table when you have the right representation that brings you the right buyer who pays you the right price. So I think, can we go towards some sort of positioning there? I'd like to create kind of a hooks and headline sheet for her. I'd like to create kind of a big idea sheet for her where she can really differentiate herself. So let's go through this. And I don't want to waste too much time on this. I think it's important, but I also want to get in the 7 ways to win because I think this is going to be kind of transformational for you today. But let's go into this and where this would come into play, the stuff that we're making now, and I'll give it all to you so you can put it in your account. It can be really good for your listing appointments. I think this could be really good for creating advertisements. It could be great for any type of digital or more old school marketing that you're doing. And when we get into 7 ways to win, a lot of that marketing will start to click into play. And I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. We're going to find 7 different ways for you to acquire new clients in 2026. We're going to create quotas, and then we're going to create activity goals for each one. So it's going to be pretty powerful. All right, cool. So let's craft a set of hooks, headlines, and big idea themes that emphasize her investor perspective and savvy, the trusted, safe pair of hands fiduciary role, the strategic listing preparation that actually moves the needle, bringing the right buyer at the right price to maximize seller proceeds, treating the home sale as a wealth building event, not just a transaction. Okay, so hooks and headline ideas: sell your home like a savvy investor, maximize every dollar at closing. Your trusted partner for unlocking the full value of your biggest asset. Real estate strategy meets investment expertise. Get the price you deserve. More than an agent, your safe pair of hands for wealth building home sales. 5, prepping, positioning, and negotiating to multiply your home's return. 6, finding the right buyer who pays the right price every time. Protecting your investment, maximizing your profit. That's my promise. These are pretty good. What are your reactions?
I love the protecting your investment, maximize your profit. That's my promise for sure.
That's beautiful too. And I love promises too. I love when you can make a promise.
Yeah.
One thing to remember is I like to look at the buyer pool in general for you, your client pool of people who would be a great candidate to list their home with you. There's going to be certain levels of people. Some people are going to be terrible candidates no matter what. They have the wrong expectations. They don't really care. They have perspective that has been seeded from previous experiences about how they don't trust real estate agents or realtors. They feel like they're unnecessary. There's going to be a certain level of those people no matter what. And we don't want to ever attract them. We want to repel them. There's going to be people who are very unaware. They're really not sure. They've never sold a home before in their life. That may not be the wrong person to target, but they may take a little bit more education, and maybe this idea of finding someone they can trust would really come into play. Then there's also going to be people who are much more aware, people who have already sold several homes, and they have something very specific they're looking for. They don't need to be guided through the whole process. They already are savvy at negotiations. They just want someone to get it done. I also like to put myself in the shoes of the buyers or of my perfect client consistently, right? For me, when someone calls me, Tammy, and maybe you do the same thing, maybe someone calls you and said, okay, I live in, let's say, Seattle, and I want to sell my property. I know you're an agent. How should I find the right real estate agent? I know exactly what advice I would give somebody, being somebody who's done this for a long time, and I'm sure you have very specific advice as well. And I think the answer sometimes becomes it depends, right? And that's what any good lawyer would ever give you an answer. It always ends up being it depends, right? So I think for you, you also have to learn this, and this comes in for referrals, is you got to teach people how to refer to you. Imagine if you're a mortgage lender. How many mortgage lenders come to you and say, will you send me business? All of them, right? But first of all, you're not going to send all your business to one person. Somebody may be great with veterans. Somebody may be great with someone who does very specific first-time home buyer loans. You may send somebody who's got great down payment funds and great credit to more of a credit union or a different type of bank that has really low rates. You may send, so you got to learn that for you being a commodity as well, maybe there's a sweet spot you want to market yourself into. For me, if someone said, hey, I'm moving to Seattle, I want to sell my house, I want to get the #1 top dollar for it, I'd say, well, for me, I would go to Zillow, or I go in all these richer neighborhoods and find who has the most signs in the yards. I would look and see who has the most home sales, who has the most clout, most credibility. And I would probably find the 3 or 4 top people that I can find and interview them, compared to if they wanted something a little bit different and they wanted to be sold really, really quickly. I would probably go a little bit of a different route, So I think for you, you have the ability to attract that as well. And I think with this type of slogan, like protecting your investment, maximizing your profit, that's my promise. This is going to attract certain personality types. It's going to attract certain people who have what's important to them already in mind. There's also a lot of people, by the way, which this and I know this, who are extremely uneducated on what their home is worth. One spectrum, the extreme or the other. Somebody who's like a good old boy or a redneck boy, like in Alabama where I live, they're like, well, I think I can probably get about $240 for it. And you look it up and see the market value is probably around $360. And you're like, wow, there's a certain level of integrity behind not doing a net listing or giving it to a wholesaler and taking a massive thing and taking advantage of people. So I think a lot of this, I'm just speaking out loud right now. So let's say we want to run with this one. Let's keep moving down a little bit more. Big idea themes to differentiate: investor grade home selling. Position the home sale as a strategic investment exit, not just a listing, backed by investor level analysis and market insight. That's pretty cool. Fiduciary level representation, which this is kind of exactly what anybody in real estate is supposed to be doing, but we can still read it. Emphasize the deep responsibility Tammy takes to protect her interests. Precision buyer targeting. Highlight her unique approach to identifying and attracting the exact buyer willing to pay her top dollar. Smart preparation for maximum ROI. Showcase how Tammy advises on the cost-effective pre-listing improvements. Of these are probably what I like the best. This is not always coming into play. Not everyone has to make repairs before going on the market. It's only relevant sometimes. This is kind of a platitude. Everyone should be able to say that. This one is interesting too. Which one do you like best of those?
Let me just read through. I like the precision buyer targeting because I think that's really important. I think people underestimate the strategy that should go into preparing the home for the right buyer.
I agree with you a lot. And that's kind of what you told me earlier. I had a meeting with one of my mom's agents when she came over to work with my mom, and she has this very specific property that was listed. And I was kind of talking to her a little bit about, could I help her sell it, or what marketing would she need? And I said, well, technically there's two buyers for this and this. And I broke it down scientifically down to exactly how to market it for each buyer. And I could see a lot of this she saw, and she's like, wow. A lot of times we know this, but if you can attack it the right way, you can be so much more specific. And even the way that you write the listing language, right?
100%.
It's
the
huge.
Way you stage it, the way you write the listing description, where you market it, there's so much that goes into it.
One of my mentors taught me this concept. He said that you can't shop out of your own pocket, which is what most people do. They only look at it through their own lenses. So like the idea of, this is who I think would buy it. Well, that's not necessarily true. It's more data driven and understanding consumer behavior and really understanding the market at a deeper level. And people don't really understand that in general. So I think it's cool that we're talking about it. So kind of some updates. Core promise headline: protecting your investment, maximizing your profit. That's my promise. This headline directly addresses the emotional and financial stakes for the seller. Positions Tammy as a fiduciary level partner, focused on safeguarding what matters most and delivering maximum return financially. Big idea focus: precision buyer targeting. And this is all going to come into play in a second. Tammy's unique strength is her investor-informed approach of first identifying exactly who the best buyer is for your property, whether an investor, owner, occupant, or other, and then positioning the home specifically to attract the buyer and command the highest price possible. Here's some supporting message points. Not all buyers are created equal. I find the buyer who sees true value in your home is ready to pay for it. Targeted marketing that cuts the noise and brings qualified buyers to your doorstep. I don't just list your home, I position it precisely to attract the perfect buyer who maximizes your sale price. And this strategic focus reduces time on market and increases your net proceeds. Very powerful. You liking where we're going?
Yes, absolutely.
Beautiful. Let's make it a little bit more real, right? So let's do a couple of these things. And one of the things I love about Pocket Marketer, of course I built this, is I did it in a way where you don't have to know what's next. It will tell you this is what we're going to do next. So I definitely love to do this. Headline and subheadline, swipe file for her website, listing, appointment, slides. Let's do handouts, ads, etc. and I would love to create a stand-up BNI style. Here's how and when to refer to me talk tracks. Are you familiar with BNI?
No.
So in the US, it may be different where you are, but there's something called Business Networking International.
Yes.
And essentially there's these chapters, and I think they have this in Canada as well, and something similar, where there's a group of business owners or people who represent businesses. They're all different. There's no duplicates. And their only goal is to get together and refer business to each other. It's a business growth kind of incubator. And there's chapters all over the world for this. And BNI is the biggest player in that game. And one of the things you got to learn when you go to BNI is how to stand up and teach people how and when to refer to you. And a lot of times learning how to very succinctly tell people why you're different, what would trigger a transaction, what you should look for to refer to me, and why you refer to me over somebody else. And like be able to say that out loud, which is a very powerful thing to do, which I think was what I heard from you is one of the things you struggle with at the moment.
Yes.
Yes. So that's what I wanted to build for you. Okay. So let's start with a swipe file of compelling headlines and subheadlines you can use. So for a website, protect your investment, maximize your profit. That's my promise. With an investor's insight and a fiduciary care, I identify the right buyers to deliver top dollar for your home. Listing appointment slide, strategic buyer targeting for maximum sale price. I don't just list your home. I position it to attract the buyers who value it most and pay accordingly. Another one for a handout, leave behind your home is one of your biggest investments. Sell it like one. Expert guidance that protects your home equity and finds the buyer who pays what your home is truly worth. Facebook, Instagram ads, just some examples. Want to sell your home for top dollar. I specialize in maximize sophisticated sellers with the right buyers to maximize proceeds. Okay, let's go into kind of a BNI style referral talk track. Imagine you were there and it was your turn. Hey, I'm Tammy. I'm a real estate expert who helps homeowners selling homes around 1 million to 1.5 million maximize their sales price. I do this by identifying the exact buyer who will pay top dollar and positioning the home perfectly to attract them. If you know someone who look to sell or to sell their upscale home or wants a trusted partner who protects their investment and delivers results, I'm happy to help. Here's another one. Hey, I'm Tammy, real estate professional with a strong background investing in law. I specialize in helping homeowners sell their homes from 1 to 1.5 million, especially those upgrading or downsizing. What makes me different is I treat every home sale like a strategic investment. I find the exact buyer who values the property most and use targeted marketing to bring them in, so sellers get the highest possible price without cutting corners on commissions. If you meet anyone who's serious about protecting and maximizing their biggest asset, I'm the one to call. So that's good stuff. Let's create some more. What would be the most impactful thing for you right now? Because when it comes to marketing, real estate's a little different. Like the idea of having a real estate website, it's like having a hammer that sits in the toolbox. It really doesn't do anything for you because that's not where people are looking. They're not finding you randomly. They're going to Zillow, they're going to homes.com, they're going to realtor.com, so you're not really winning that battle. I'm not sure what collateral would make the most sense for you at the moment, besides kind of focusing on two things. One, how to attract the right buyers or the right clients, number one. And number two, what would be helpful for me to know, Tammy, and then we'll move on to the next thing is, are you competing very often for listings when you go to listing appointments, or are you mostly only one they're interviewing and you win the job, or is it a mix of both?
It's a mix of both. Sometimes I'm in competition, but most times where I'm finding my business, to be honest, is through referrals, because my clients generally have an experience that is unlike what others are experiencing, or anyone that they've spoken to about real estate transactions. Then they come to me, I think initially more out of curiosity. But then once they hear my approach, it makes sense and resonates with them. So then they end up hiring me for giving me the listings.
Love it. One of the things that I'm going to work on with you right now and for you is something called a unique mechanism. So a unique mechanism is how you take something common and make it unique. It's that one thing that is intellectually interesting. It's something that's sometimes emotionally compelling. It's something intriguing. It's something that allows someone to say, wow, I've never heard of this before, even though you're talking about something common. Something that would be that you would probably relate to, anybody listening as well, would be like a multi-level marketing company. Are you familiar with that?
Yep.
You have these like nutraceuticals and they say, this one's so different. This one was grown on the side of a mountain in the moonlight and the sunlight at the same time at exactly 62.4 latitude. And it has this nutrient rich, dense thing. Like they're decommoditizing by giving you this unique mechanism that their special nutraceutical ingredient has that nothing else does, right? So for your business, that's the goal here as well. And that's really what that precision buyer targeting is it's your ability to say, well, that's cool and all, but you've never seen this because I use precision buyer targeting, right? So what I'd love to have is you have the ability, maybe in a listing appointment for when you are competing, that you have the ability to show why you're different. Here's what I do that's so different. And it's called precision buyer targeting. And they're like, whoa, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. This is exactly what I'm looking for, even though they didn't necessarily wake up that morning thinking they needed it. And on the other side of it, having this as well will help you when you don't have to compete to make sure that no one else feels like, wow, I need to do more due diligence before I just say yes to Tammy, right? Because often, and that will happen, and it has happened, that someone's referred to you, you've had the appointment, maybe you took it not as seriously as you would someone you would compete with, and they went off and did due diligence and hired somebody else. Does that happen?
Yes.
Yeah, and I know it happens, right? So that's part of real estate. So this is also helping you there. Before I read this to you, I'm going to go over something else with you too. When I was an agent still doing listing appointments, we had my unique mechanism was called the 2-week power push, and you can use this as well. So what the 2-week power push was that first 2 weeks, and I explained to him, I said, okay, listen, imagine when I put your listing on the market and it goes out to the world, Zillow, it's called syndication. The MLS here is going to send it out to everyone. What I want you to think about is the first 2 weeks are the most powerful, impactful weeks of a listing's being, right, of its existence. Because what's cool about it is there's already hundreds of buyers, if not thousands, that have their Periscope up and they're looking back and forth every single day, waiting for a house like yours to hit the market. So what I do is I look at 3 levels of buyers, which is unique to what we do and no one else does. And I'm teaching you this now, Tammy. I said, number one, you have the buyers with the Periscope up already looking for your listing. Whether you put them on the market with me or you put it on with Tammy, they're going to find it. That's buyer number one. Buyer number two are the people who would buy if they knew your house was available. They're not even in the sales cycle, but they have the means and they are impulsive enough to buy a property. And they will do it if we can create that emotional connection.
Right.
And they're like, oh, wow, that's interesting. And then the third type of buyer was the investors who always have their feelers up. And you have to have secret access to these people to put deals in front of them. So I would tell them about the 2-week power push. So yes, I'm going to syndicate it. Yes, I'm going to put it in the best light. Yes, obviously I'm going to use professional photography. Yes, I will do a video or a drone or a Matterport if it makes sense to. If it doesn't, I'm not going to do it. Because that's an expense to me. But beyond that, I'm going to go and put this out with Facebook targeted video advertisements to put it out in front of the right people who can actually afford your property. And we find that about 50% of the time, somebody who came from those type of efforts are the people who buy your home. And that's what you can get with me. You can't get with anybody else. And then the third type is I'll send this out to my very coveted investor list that does this and this, that doesn't buy foreclosures in wholesales and flips only, but who are actually looking to buy larger homes for different purposes. And they're like, whoa, they always freaked out. They thought it was so cool. So like having something like that, like the precision buyer targeting, gives you that edge that can help people you talk to not feel like they have to do due diligence because they're in safe hands and they like, this is what I'm looking for. They feel validated. And then when you are competing, it can help you, right? So I put together a listing appointment presentation guide, kind of talking a little bit about that. I don't have to read all this to you. I'm going to send this to you, but I wanted you to have that. Now, I've talked a lot. What I'd like to do is pause for a second, and then I'd like to jump into kind of a quick 7 ways to win exercise with you.
Okay.
We're really lucky it's kind of after Christmas time because I don't have too much going on. Usually I wouldn't be able to keep going like this, but if you've got a little bit of time, I'm happy to keep moving.
Absolutely.
Okay, so before I keep moving, let's go to you. What are your big walkaways from that session specifically?
Oh, there's so much, Chris. I've taken so many notes. I love the precision buyer targeting. I think that's a way to explain, again, a simple way to explain what it is I do. And that's been one of the biggest hurdles for me, is communicating it in a way that makes sense, that isn't overly wordy, So I love that. I love the fact that you said that my goal is to decommoditize myself and what I do. I think that makes total sense. I've never looked at it that way, but I totally get that. And then when you spoke about the goal is to win mind share of value, they need to know, like, and trust you. Obviously, I've heard the know, like, and trust before. However, when you talk about the frequency and exposure, like when you break it down to what it really is, now it has meaning to me. Just when know, like, and trust gets thrown out there, you're like, yeah, I get it. Like, it's high, like it's just words, right?
Yep.
But the frequency and exposure, how you broke those items down, totally makes sense. I'm so appreciative. Like, feel like I've got a year worth of marketing training in like, what, 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm here for. I told you, the Marketing Makeover Show is about serving you. And I never shop out of my own pocket. I never assume anybody knows anything. And a lot of the things that we've heard for many years, like know, like, and trust, there's actually a formula and a scientific reason they exist. And most people have no clue. So I'm glad to hear that was new to you. And I'm glad that was something that stuck with you and made you write that down. Let's really solidify all this right now. I shared my screen here. This is called the 7 Ways to Win exercise. This was so cool because like I said, I've taught this to hundreds of businesses and been on the phones with CEOs and Zoom and help people walk through, hey, I'm stuck. What do I do? And I take them through this exercise and they have extreme clarity on exactly what actions to take daily, weekly, and monthly. And then even in large, big companies, they know exactly who to delegate each task to. I'm going to take you through this exact exercise. The concept of 7 Ways to Win is around redundancy. It's about another one of Gary Keller's books, if you're a real estate person, is called Shift. Have you read Shift?
I have.
So Shift is about what? It's about market shifts, right? Market shifts are things that change the effectiveness of what we're doing in our market. And sometimes it is something we can control, and sometimes it's stuff that we can't control. And what's interesting as well is a shift for you may not be a shift for me. So the redundancy in general was built around the concept of exactly that, having a customer acquisition or a client acquisition strategy that can withstand market shifts. And that's why I started and piloted this 13, 14 years ago with real estate agents and brokers on how to build out that annual business plan that really gives them a lot more control over the outcome, right? So a couple of things that I usually do is I start with talking about the 5 stages of conversion. This may be new to you, but in general, most people talk about conversion and they don't really break it down exactly what it exactly means. Like when you talk about lead gen and you have lots of leads coming in, what's really a lead versus what's a prospect versus how you should track it. And I hate the idea of tracking conversion in a linear fashion, whether they're converted or they didn't, because there's really 5 stages. If you have 100 leads come in, you have a conversion called the contact rate. And that's the number of people of the 100 people that came in that you actually got in contact with. So if you had 100 people who filled out a form on your website, you only got 60 of them on the phone. That's the first step of conversion. Next, you have people who actually set up an appointment and they're saying yes, either whether it's virtual, FaceTime, in-person, listing appointment, walk through at a house that you're taking them through that they inquired about, whatever that is. You have the appointment set rate, which is the rate of people who you've gotten in contact with who actually said, yes, I'll meet with you. The third level of conversion is appointment show rate, right? So let's start with, imagine we had 100 people. We had 100 people here, and of those 100 people, we actually only had 60 of them who ended up speaking with us on the phone. Well, we have a 60% contact rate. Of the 60 people that we spoke to on the phone, 30 of them said, yes, they'll have an appointment. Of the 30 people who said that they would have an appointment with you, only 20 of them showed up. And then from there, how many people actually said, yes, I'll work with you. Yes, you can list my house, or yes, I'll work with you as my buyer's agent. Let's say 14. And then from there, how many of you actually sold? 8, right? So you got to understand the different levels of conversion and that there's many levels that exist. And once you understand this, you can diagnose where it breaks, which is one of the powerful things about this. And it's going to come into play in just a few minutes. But I always like to start by just saying this out loud so you have a full understanding. The second thing I like to do is say, okay, for your business specifically, let's talk a little bit about the 2 triggers we talked about earlier. What triggers a transaction? Who's most likely to refer? And then I also want to go in, and this is an old template for 2026, and say, okay, what are we actually looking to do here income-wise? This was an example for real estate investors that I was doing a big real estate investor workshop live in Atlanta, but we'll change it for real estate agents for this one. So you told me earlier you want to do 50 transactions in the year 2026. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you told me earlier about $17,000 is what you make profit or commission. This is commission per deal, kind of like
Correct.
take home. This is gross, not net, correct?
Correct.
So you're looking to make this so much money in 2026, 850,000.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. We're going to get back to this a little later, average conversion rate and total number of leads. We're going to skip that. We're going to go into 7 ways to win. But first, let's talk about what triggers a transaction and who's most likely to refer. These right here were examples for people who are doing fix and flips. Let's go to you, though, specifically. So why would someone enter the cycle of wanting to buy or sell a home? What triggers that transaction? And this can be a really, really big list, okay? For me, I've had people who've jumped into the transaction because they bought a truck. And when they got home, their truck was too long to fit in the garage and swear that's why they bought a house. I've had a woman who called me one morning on a Sunday morning about 9 a.m. who entered the sales cycle because she stepped on a Lego and it cut her foot open. And she got so mad that her house was so small and she had 3 kids and she didn't have a playroom. And she decided to buy a house that day because her house was too small. I've had other people who were drunk on Saturday mornings before football turns on, watching HGTV and decided to go on Craigslist to see what's available. Like, so there's millions of things that could trigger a transaction, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not what we're focusing on. We're focusing on the main things, right? So why would someone want to sell a home or why would someone want to buy? Probably for this exercise, since you really want to be listing focused, let's just focus on why someone would decide they want to sell their property. Why?
Well, we have divorce, death.
Okay, so we have probate stuff. Okay. What else?
Another one, we have back to work legislation now. So many people were working online, have now been mandated to return to work. So they're finding the drive is too far with expense level. They're returning, trying to move to get closer to work. So that would be another one.
Okay. That's wild, by the way.
Pardon me?
That's wild. Like the idea of that in the US kind of like blows my mind, but I think it's smart at some level. So
absolutely.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So probate things, which will be divorce, death, etc., inheritance. We have back to work legislation. We have no longer able to commute, like moving to the city or towards their job. Okay, what else?
Yeah, so expense level, interest rates have so economics, they can no longer sustain. Their kids have become older and they need larger homes to accommodate the children.
Okay.
So change in family dynamic.
Okay.
Whether it's moving up or moving down. Okay. Some children move out and then they want a smaller home. Generally, a lot of people that I work with, they get to the point where they actually want to have a improved life because they no longer have the obligations, whatever that may be, whether it's taking care of elderly people or taking care of the children. Now they have the opportunity to pick their home outside of family considerations.
Got it. And this is more around who we want to focus on too, right? We don't want to, because if we were talking about buyers, it may be a very, very different conversation.
Yes.
It would be very different. So kind of you sell to who you market to. Let's focus on marketing to these people. And there's probably a lot more beyond that as well. There's people who, and I've seen this a lot, where they want to reinvest their home equity in other investments or other places, and they don't want to take a HELOC. We've seen that a lot where people are like, holy crap, my house is worth how much? Wow. And then they have this weird urge to cash out, which is dumb. And then they can't afford or can't find a new property. Have you seen that a lot too?
Yeah, they sell, then they rent, and then they can't get back into the market.
So these are the things that would trigger a transaction. And then for you, who's most likely to refer? So past clients, who else?
Yeah, past clients. So my center of influence. Mm-hmm. So professionals that I work with. lawyers, mortgage brokers.
Okay.
So professionals, I guess other homeowners who have seen me experience success. Through open houses or through sold signs going up, that happens quite frequently.
So other homeowners or prospects who haven't worked with you but know of your reputation?
Yes. Realtors who are from different jurisdictions who are looking to refer as
Okay.
well.
All right.
People, charitable organizations I've volunteered with, other that know what I bring to the table.
Okay. Love it. Love it. Okay. It's all coming back into play in just a few minutes. I want to move on to the next thing for time purposes. This is called the 7 ways to win. One thing with the 7 ways to win is it doesn't have to be just 7. It can be more than that, but it's built on the redundancy of customer acquisition strategy around you really need to have at least 7 different ways to acquire new clients to be able to withstand market shifts. Okay. With that being said, there's really 2 different types of strategies. You've got really what we call scalable and non-scalable. And what that means is when they're non-scalable, there's really nothing you can do immediately today to move the needle. You can control your attitude and your effort and your level of effort, but you can't directly enhance or control the number of leads you're getting. But on the other side of that, they're usually very, very high conversion and very high quality. Okay. On the scalable side, it's things that you can do that you can go as fast as you want, but usually the quality is very low and the conversion rate's very low, but it's good to have both. So this was for real estate investors. So let's make this more focused for you. So scalable advertising, you could do Facebook ads. We're not saying you should. We're going to talk about this in just a second. You could do Facebook ads. Absolutely. You could do things like magazine ads, because I think Real Estate Magazine's still in place somewhere. You can advertise with Zillow if you wanted to, Zillow, Premier Agent. And I'm going to go over the ifs and buts and the whys on all of these things. You could send out direct mailers. You could do signs if you wanted to, but we'll talk about that in just a second. Let's go to the non-scalable part first. So we go over here and say, okay, who's most likely to refer? Let's go and break it down to your sphere of influence. We're going to do personal referrals or professional referral network. So let's do those 2 first. So we're going to have client referrals. We're going to have professional network. We're going to have your sphere of influence. And this is going to be different than your client referrals. And then we're also going to do volunteer or charities, charity connections. And then let's figure out some more here. We also have agent referrals from other markets. Okay, so we have agent referrals from other markets. And then what else do I want to include in here? Okay, probably going to put over here, we're going to do sign calls. All right. So let's start with this to begin with. We're going to start with these 5 on this side. One of the things you're looking at is your conversion rate, your quality of lead, your daily, weekly, and monthly activities, the total number of leads needed per year, average conversion rate, and the total number of deals that you're looking to create from this. So where we want to start with is really at this column right here, total number of deals. And what we want to do is we want to reverse engineer our way back to the 50 total transactions you're looking to get this year. So we'll start with just the non-scalable leads from the number, or how many deals do we want to close in 2026 from client referrals?
Well, it would be at least half.
You want half of these total to be from client referrals?
Well, that's what the numbers are as of today.
So if you sold 20 homes last year, 10 of them were client referrals.
Correct.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Number 2, professional network. So this is going to be your lawyers. It's going to be your closing attorneys and escrow attorneys. It's going to be mortgage brokers that you're really good friends with. It could even be home inspectors. It could be anybody who has influence at some level over who someone chooses. It could be a PNC, like personal lines insurance carrier that you do a lot of business with. So from them, can we say we're going to get 6 sales from the entire year? Is that unreasonable?
No.
Sphere of influence. This is people you did not do business with, but they're on your mailers. They're on your touch points. These are people that you're doing drop buys, pop buys, you're keeping in touch with, because if you don't, they're going to buy from somebody else whenever they're ready because you're not being top of mind. Is it unreasonable to say you'll get 6 sales from them?
Not at all.
Okay, perfect. And then charity connections. How many charities are you working with currently?
3.
3. Is it unreasonable to have one good referral that closes from each one of those?
No, I think that's very reasonable.
Okay, what about 3 in total from agents from other markets? So not something you're relying on, but about 3 per year.
Yeah,
and we're going to talk about daily, weekly, and monthly activities to actually create and manifest these sales, by the way. So that's that right there. So just from the non-scalable ones, we've got 43. Okay. On this side, let's say we're doing some sort of ads at some level, or even Facebook, organic, or ads. We can even tie them together. We have Zillow Premier Agent or something similar, like paying for leads. This could be Angie's, it could be Realtor.com, it could be anything. It could be mailers, it could be sign calls. Are you doing anything like this currently?
No, I'm not doing any Facebook ads or Zillow advertising at all. Mailers, yes, I am doing mailers.
What are you doing?
I'm doing the just listed, just sold. So yeah, probably just listed, just sold.
Are you doing nosy neighbor stuff?
No, I haven't done
with it.
On a very cursory level.
Okay.
Please feel free to share.
Yeah, I will. Perfect. Okay. Are you doing any type of organic posting? Are you showing yourself online on Facebook organic or Instagram organic on what you're doing?
No, because I've been very apprehensive about doing it because I want to make sure that I am saying what I need to say to, I guess, attract the right clients.
So let's stick with these here before I jump in too deep into the rest of this, because I'm going to go pretty quick.
Yep.
Is there anything else that you've been doing? And I'll give you some other thoughts.
Yep.
And I've done a lot of these, by the way, where there's no scalable marketing at all in play. It's just non-scalable with real estate agents and brokers. It could be, like, give you an example. I'm a coach at my kids' team. Yep. It could be a women's bunco group. It could be anything else where you have direct access to a very specific niche of your sphere of influence. Anything else could be.
Yep. So, so I volunteer at my son's school. Again, that I would put that into charity/volunteer. That's how I viewed it. But that would definitely be an avenue, source of business for sure.
What about any professional networks you're a part of? Are you a part of anything outside of the real estate political sphere?
No, not currently.
Okay. Because like being a part of the HOA for the biggest luxury neighborhood where you happen to live, like those kind of things right there can also be great referrals.
Yes. Unfortunately, we don't have that in Canada. We don't have HOAs. But we do have neighborhood Facebook groups.
Correct. Perfect.
So that would be, I would assume, similar.
Are you in some of those?
Not currently, but it sounds like I should be. So
yeah, could be. Okay, let's keep going. I want to spend more time on this one real quick. So client referrals, when you get a client referral, is it unreasonable to say, in general, you have a pretty high quality lead there and you close 4 out of 5 of them?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Professional networks, same thing, extremely high quality. Usually it's what we call a know, like, and trust transfer with a referral.
Yes.
And would 50% be pretty reasonable for the number, or do you close higher than that usually?
I would say that's probably closer to 75% for me.
Okay. And then sphere of influence, when someone says, hey, oh, you want to sell your house, call Tammy. How's that looking?
Yeah, that I think a lot of people are dipping their toe in the water and they're not 100% committed to selling their home when they're referred through Sphere. If they're legitimately serious, then it's a higher conversion rate. But what I find when I actually speak with them is they're not as invested as what the contact led me to believe.
So you're thinking like 50%, 40%?
Yeah, I would say, 40%.
40. And then from here, it's probably pretty high if someone gives you a referral, probably closer to that 75% range.
Correct. Yeah.
Probably at some level similar for the agent referrals. I have seen
Correct.
issues with agent referrals where the agent doesn't ask the question, hey, are you already looking in the market? And they're just trying to get a commission. But I'm sure you win most of those.
Yes.
And then for neighborhood Facebook groups, we'll probably move this over to this area here.
Okay.
But I think it's worth noting, right? But
Yes.
the point of this is, okay, now we know this an 80% contact rate or conversion rate, and you'll see all these conversion rates mapped down here. We know that we have very high quality leads. We know how many deals we're looking to close from each individual source. And it really comes down with this right here. It says, okay, what's the total number of leads needed per year to crush this? So for client referrals at 80%, you only need 31 leads a year. That's all you need, 31 referrals a year to hit that 25. Professional network is 8 referrals per year, 15 for your sphere of influence, 4 for charities or your volunteer connections, or 4 from the agent referrals. And if you just do those things, we're looking at 43 here. And we could fill out all of them. I think you understand the process here.
Yep.
Next, we want to go back and say, okay, what are the daily, weekly, and monthly activities, which we'll work on in just a second. And then from there, what's kind of cool is let's make this bite size. Okay, so how many leads do we need per month from client referrals? We need 2.6 referrals per month.
Okay.
We need less than 1 referral per month from my professional network, just about 1 from my sphere of influence. We need 1/3 of a referral per month from volunteers and charities. So what's really interesting, to get to that 50 units, you really don't have to do as much as you may have thought. When you learn how to really reverse engineer it, understand all the way down to daily, weekly, and monthly activity levels, and you really break it down and say, okay, how hard would it be, Tammy, if my focus every day was, can I create 3 referrals per month?
Right.
3 referrals per month. So if I do 3 a month, what ends up happening is this ends up being 36. And then when I do 36, I actually sell even more houses, right? So it's really not that difficult when you look at it and you break it down to this level. The next thing would say is, okay, what do I do every day to influence client referrals? What do I do every week to influence client referrals? What do I do every month? And we just fill out this form step by step. And then sometimes I put by who, like if I'm in a larger company, it's like, all right, so who's going to do this task? And this gives you the ability to go out and delegate. Okay. So let's start here. Client referrals. What do we need to do every month? Let's not get all the way down to day right now, but every month, what are the things, the activities you should be doing to generate or incentivize client referrals?
Ask for them, number one.
Ask for referrals, number one, but you have to definitely stay top of mind, right?
Yes, communicate.
Yep. So top of mind awareness.
Yep. So
And
communicating through email, I guess posting on Facebook would be, so social media presence is
just staying in
important.
front of them beyond marketing to them or asking them to do business with you. You're staying in front of them. Top of mind awareness. Okay. What else? I'd probably do some sort of mailers. Maybe not monthly, maybe quarterly. I'd be sending out 1 mail piece.
Yes.
What we've done before that we've done very well with is we would send personalized greeting cards, and we would use send out cards or different companies like that where we can do them in bulk. But we know that when you get a greeting card in the mail, it has a 100% open rate rather than using postcards. We find it's much, much more powerful and worth more money to have a 100% open rate. And it's really just a thinking of you. One of the things you can do for this as well is things like promotional products. Promotional products are the magnets that people stick on their fridge. It's things that, like a jar opener. It could be a wine bottle opener with your logo on it and your name and your phone number, like things that remind them of you that they're going to use frequently. Yeah. The promotional products. So we're going to send, let's say quarterly or annually or semi-annually. We want to send out mailers, greeting cards, promotional products, things like that. But this is what we can do to influence referrals, because we can't really scale this on our own will, but we can definitely do the right activities. On a weekly basis, should you be doing anything? What I would probably do is, let's say you've been doing this for 8 years, you're selling 20 houses a year, usually transaction-wise. Let's say you have 160 clients. I would take that 160 clients and I'd break them into 52 weeks, and I'd make a list and I'd put it on a calendar. And I would be literally calling them on a weekly basis. So imagine 160 divided by, and you probably can't see my calculator here, but 160 divided by 52, or let's just say 50 weeks. It's 3 people a week. So it's 3 sellers or 3 past clients per week. Make a call and just check in. And really for me, I would do this more of a checking on you. It's not a professional call. It's more of a personal call.
Right.
And I would probably find a piece of information that I can remember that helps me reestablish rapport, things like that. So to me, I would be doing that. I would probably also identify the people who are my top referrers in general, and I would be doing pop buys.
Yeah.
Identify top past referrals sources here and do pop buys, drop off gifts, personal touch points, things like that. So those are all things that you can reverse weight engineer yourself into. So if you had to say, okay, what am I doing now? Well, I'm steadily posting on Facebook, and this is really just reminding people I'm in real estate, right? And I want you to think about what I'm about to say for a second here for this point. When you're steadily reminding people in real estate, it's not holding up a for sale sign. It's not taking a picture with someone that says sold in a closing attorney's office. It is that. It is that when you have them, do that. Okay. It's also telling stories. Like when you open your Facebook feed and they see your name, they're like, so let me tell you a story. I was on my way to a listing appointment yesterday when this happened. And it has nothing to do with real estate, but you reminded them that you were in real estate just by that preface that's saying, I was on my way to a listing appointment, or taking a picture, dropping into the office to get my mail, and I found these lovely flowers from one of my clients, and they can see your logo behind you. Like these little things that are not salesy, not pushy, are subliminal marketing that remind people that you're in real estate.
Right.
And very, very powerful strategies. Interestingly enough, I wrote a best-selling book, sold 25,000 copies on this exact strategy. It's called Real Estate Marketing on Facebook. Don't buy it. It's a paperweight because it was written in 2013, but it's got a lot of really cool stuff in it, but it's very, very powerful strategy. Okay. Now you also know you can take your list of 160 past clients. You can break them down into lists of 3 per week and make a commitment to reach out to them. Even if it's a text message, even if it's a phone call, maybe it's text, email, and phone call, but something, all of a sudden referrals will start coming in because of that. And then definitely ask for referrals. Do you have a really good script for that? Are you really good at asking for referrals?
No, I do have a good script for it. I don't use it as often as I should. Let's put it that way.
Makes sense.
I think it's a little bit more difficult to ask for referrals because I generally will call them interested in what's going on with them. And then it just seems very self-serving to ask them for something. So it's a mindset shift, right? It's a mindset shift okay. Like I know everybody has on their, well, not everyone, but the vast majority of realtors will have, I'm never too busy for your referrals or something on the end of their email. So I know that quite a lot of agents are asking for referrals. I think it's just the way that it needs to be opened that I need to work with.
Okay. I'm trying to fill this in as we're talking as well. So I always sometimes forget that we're even on a show right now because I'm just talking to you. I'm doing what I've been doing for 15 years, is teaching real estate agents how to generate business. So you don't have to feel self-conscious about asking for referrals, right? Because what you need to also remember is you have a fiduciary responsibility to the public and you have a calling. You told me this earlier, you have a calling. Yeah. And when you have a calling, your conviction can be more powerful than any type of anxiety or being conscientious about overstepping or feeling kind of selfish, because you have a calling for this. So saying things to people, hey, and by the way, if you run into somebody, it's all about teaching people how to refer and when to refer.
Right.
If you run into somebody who's looking to sell their property, who really wants to do it correctly with precision and get the most money out of it, I know you can refer them to lots of people, but I'd love for you to send them my way. I'll take good care of them. Like just little things like that is powerful. Yes, there's the ending of an email that says, receiving referrals from your friends and family is the greatest gift you can give me. I will give them the same care I give to you. And it's the greatest compliment that you could possibly give me. Or my business thrives on referrals from past clients and friends like you. Keep them coming. Like you can have that kind of stuff, but you can also tell people directly and just remind them to refer and remind them who's a good referral, remind them when to refer as well. And that's just something because they won't remember to unless it stays top of mind there that you are the person they would refer. One of the things that I teach a lot in my referral classes is how to become referral-worthy. And when you're referral-worthy, it doesn't feel weird to ask for referrals. A couple more things, and we're going to end this because the time's kind of running over on us. But I wanted you to have this. I'll let you fill this out later. But for client referrals, we want to ask for referrals. We want to stay top of mind. We want to communicate through email, post on Facebook, quarterly and annually send out mailers, greeting card envelopes, promotional products, things that remind them of you every time they use it. I would also identify my top past referral sources and do pop buys, and I would do drop off gifts, and I would do personal touch points and continue to make sure that they know that you're friends beyond just referral partners. I would definitely steadily post on Facebook and Instagram, gently reminding people that you're in real estate, based on what I told you a few minutes ago, where you can use these little things before you would post what you normally would post, that in your comfort zone that's not salesy, but also do some of that salesy stuff, reminding people that you're busy. You definitely want people to see that you're doing business, because nothing makes a consumer more nervous than doing business with a real estate agent who's not busy, because maybe there's something wrong with them. I would definitely make a list of all my past clients, break them into weeks, and be very, very diligent and say that I'm going to be calling these people systematically on Tuesdays at 11 o'clock. And I'm going to make a list. And if they don't answer last week, I'm going to call them again the next week, and continuously stay in front of them and have it more of a campaign. I would do the same thing with my sphere of influence. I would wear my name tag everywhere when I volunteer. Always wear my name tag everywhere, just to gently remind them you're in real estate without being too much in their face. You're going to get referrals just from that, because that exact moment, the exact time, someone will say, oh, wow, I forgot you're in real estate. Hey, I met this person, they're moving here, boom. That would be helpful. I think for sphere of influence, same type of thing. You want to stay in front of them. You want to post on Facebook daily. On the professional network, I would be taking one new connection to lunch every week or every 2 weeks. I would be reaching out to somebody in my existing sphere and invite them to a lunch, or have some sort of party every quarter where you invite all your referral sources together. I would see what I can do to reciprocate. I would reciprocate as much as I can. Referrals, because the best way to get a referral is to give a referral, for sure.
Absolutely.
Name tag. And I mean, just wearing your name tag every time you go and forgetting you took it off is very, very powerful. Agent referrals. Well, how would you do that? Well, I would go to the other markets where I know people are moving to my market from, and I would do enough reports and searching to see what companies are moving here, where they're moving from. And I would go find the agents that do the top amount of business, or the agents who are already in the same brokerage that I'm in, or same over if you're in a big box brokerage. And then I would get them to make you their custom referral source. And I would choose maybe 5 of them a month that I would reach out to and create a relationship with. Give you an example, like my area is Huntsville, Alabama. Quantico, ATF, FBI, Polaris, all these companies kept moving to Huntsville. We found where they're moving from. We called the agents in our same office in that area, created the connection before anybody else does. And we got all the referrals. It's very simple. But that was the only activity we had to do, was just find that and call. I mean, it was that simple, right? Neighborhood Facebook groups, be present, post, pay attention. You know, this is how it all works. So if you do that and you break it down, the idea of like getting 3 referrals a month, you're going to punch way past that. You're going to get 10 referrals a month if you go through and do these activities. Right. Your professional network, you should get probably 5 to 10 referrals a month there as well by doing those activities. And those are the little things that you can control, that you can treat like a business. One more thing I'll finish up with here, and this is what I used to do with my agents that work for me, is I said, okay, when we're doing our follow-up, we're actively working our pipeline, trying to create referrals. Here's what I was recommending. I had kind of a long-term follow-up list of people who maybe became prospects and never turned into clients, who maybe would buy the house or sell a house if the right offer came along or the right piece of inventory came along. I would wake up on Mondays and I would send out inventory again and again and again. Every Monday, anybody who's ever been in my world, period, I would send them inventory. I would put them up on drip searches through my MLS, not through somebody else's website or Zillow. And I'd send them inventory, and I would go find a piece of inventory and send it to them. Like, hey, I saw this house, made me think of you, send it. I don't care if this is a listing or a buyer, it does not matter. Because by the way, why do people want to sell their listings? Because they found a house they want to buy. We all know that. That's a huge trigger. Send inventory. Mondays is long-term follow-up, send inventory. Tuesdays, hot list. This is your next paycheck. These are the people who are busy on Monday, by the way, but these are the people that you need to follow up with because they've already shown enough intent. It's timely. They're the referrals that haven't gotten back to you yet. These are the people that you've been to a listing appointment and haven't heard back yet from. These are the people that are on your hot list. Wednesday, I work my referral pipeline. I would use that time on Wednesdays very proactively. This is like 2 hours a day for each day. Yeah. Outside of doing normal business, very intentional, focused time, probably between 9 and 11 a.m. Turn all your cell phone stuff off, just focus on it and work the referral pipeline, do the calls, set up the appointments, things like that. For me, I used to teach people to do pop buys on Thursdays. It was a day where they're kind of getting close to Friday and they're not super busy. And these are the times I'd drop into my referral mortgage offices and I'd come say hi and I'd bring cookies, and I'd go to the insurance office and I'd bring cookies over there. And I would go these different places and just steadily make sure they see my face.
Okay.
And I want them to see that I'm busy, and I'm also trying to reciprocate. And then I do all my cold lead follow-up, usually on Fridays, and I'd send out searches consistently. And I had an active and a passive follow-up strategy. And then on the cold leads, I would send them inventory, making sure they knew I was available to show on the weekends.
Okay.
And that's how I did it. Everybody's different. Different. But that's the 7 ways to win. Just to kind of finish this out, the concept of this is, for what do you do this year to hit your 50 transactions? Let's break it down where not one strategy is really giving you all of your business, because what happens if that strategy fails? Let's build redundancy, and then let's say, okay, daily, weekly, monthly activities, and really scientifically break it down and say, okay, this is the amount of activity that I need to do to generate this type of business. So hopefully that was helpful.
Absolutely.
And I didn't do the whole exercise because this is a long exercise and doing it customized for you, but I'll send that to you. That'll be your sheet, but you can revert back to it all the time. Wonderful. Well, I mean, it's one of my longer shows I've ever done, but I'm happy to be here with you. So Tammy, thanks for being on the Marketing Makeover Show. Going back to Pocket Marketer for a minute, we really ended with a couple things, and let's just restate those real quick.
Yep.
We ended it with kind of the positioning around kind of talking about what you do in a very clear way that clearly differentiates you, gives you confidence, and can lead towards all of your other marketing material. We came up with this: protecting your investment, maximizing your profit. That's my promise. And that's really a listing focus mantra. The big idea focus is precision buyer targeting, which is kind of that unique mechanism. And that's highlighting your unique approach to identifying, attracting the exact buyer segment willing to pay top dollar for that specific listing. So that's what we kind of came up with today. I'll make sure you have access to all that. I'll send it to you. Also give you access to 7 ways to win, which is where we really said, okay, what can we do in 2026 to punch way past the target, really help you get past that 50 transaction volume goal you have, and get that big goal of, looks like close to $1 million in gross earnings, which is massive. And I think you can do it, especially when you distill it down at the daily, weekly, and monthly activity level. It becomes much more obtainable than maybe it seems.
Absolutely. Good. Absolutely. I really appreciate you doing that for me. Thank you so much, Chris.
My pleasure. What's your biggest walkaways? And then what would you commit to on your end of the action you're going to take after this call?
So my biggest takeaways, as I shared with you, is just being clear on how to differentiate myself. I think that's the most important piece to me, because there's so many realtors that are saying they're doing the same thing. We see it time and time again where it's like free comparative market analysis. It's like every realtor is saying, oh, I'm going to tell you the value of your home. So people, I think, have stopped listening to that. So now that's the commodity, right? So how do we say things in a different way to market it differently, to engage the sellers? And that precision buyer targeting is so amazing, such a great idea, and so helpful. So thank you so much for that. And then in terms of what I'm committed to doing, obviously following up with the 7 ways, filling that out and getting some greater clarity around the daily, weekly, and monthly activities that will help me propel past where I want to be. And you know, I know it's a big goal, but that's gross, not net, right? As we know. So there's a lot of expenses that go into making that. So I'm really excited to take that next step and to complete that analysis and to move forward with it. Like, I really think that it's possible this year to have an incredible year with greater clarity and a clear path forward. And I really thank you for that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. There's nothing I'd rather be doing than this stuff. Because you already knew every answer. I don't know if you picked up on that. I didn't give you a lot of answers. You already knew it. A lot of times we know what to do, but sometimes we don't give ourselves permission to do the right amount of action necessary to be successful, number one, or we haven't fully quantified that or broken it down into executable steps. So with everything we talked about, especially with the brand differentiation, you can literally throw everything aside. We didn't even have that conversation. Just have the 7 ways to win. You're going to be successful, because in your specific industry and niche, it's a little less defined by how well you brand yourself, and it's more defined on the activity levels you put yourself through. And it's more about the number of opportunities you get. This will help you, and this will help you stand out. This will help you win listing appointments. This will help you make sure when someone comes to you first and you're the first person they talk to, they don't want to go anywhere else. That all helps. But even without it, even just understanding how to exercise what you saw today on the 7 ways to win, you super successful. And that's one of the things, like in a commodity market, differentiation is key, of course. But at the end of the day, when there's enough transaction volume to serve everybody, you just have to do the right activities and you're going to get your fair share. Right?
Oh, 100%. One of the best things you said is the best known always beats the best. I'm like, that's the mic drop right there. Right?
Well, I wish I could take credit for that. That's a Dan Martell thing. He talks about it a lot. But best known always does beat best. Like the best of anything aren't out there making the most money. It's the best known. It's the people who figured out how to get out at the right place at the right time. And to understand what triggers a transaction and who's most likely to refer. And they're tapping into those things, right? Because tons of agents who are probably terrible, but they're making a lot of money.
It's true.
There's some, but they're best known for whatever reason. Sometimes it's daddy. Sometimes it's nepotism. Sometimes it's the mayor's wife decides to jump into real estate and they have the biggest sphere of influence and they automatically get that know, like, and trust transfer, whether it's out of obligation or actually because they actually give you the right people. It is what it is. So focus on that. I think you'll be successful. Anybody watching, you've been on the Marketing Makeover Show. Tammy, thanks for being here. If you want to get access to Pocket Marketer, go to the show notes in the description here on YouTube. It's pocketmarketer.io or .ai. You can go there and request access to it. It's kind of invite only. You can go there and request access, and we'll tell you the next steps once you've requested it. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you all on the next episode of the Marketing Makeover Show.
Thanks so much.